And welcome, sports fans, to today's Sports Roundtable. Glad you joined us as we've kicked off the Roundtable season for 3 weeks now. It's our third week of the Roundtable as the fall sports got underway in high school. We got underway with the show as well. Once again, right here Saturday mornings, live at 10 a.m. And hopefully you'll join us each Saturday at 10 a.m. for the Sports Roundtable right here on YHC and YHCTV.com. And what a night it was last night. We had some competitive games across the board. Also, Arkansas got underway with high school football last night, so that's very exciting. Arkansas 2 weeks behind Missouri getting underway, and some big games last night. And we'll actually talk about a couple of games down there. Also, Piggott getting a nice victory on the road yesterday and last night. And we're going to have Michael Harrell, Piggott football coach, on with us here momentarily to talk about that win last night and the Piggott Mohawks football season. So a lot to get to today, including state rankings, new state rankings for Missouri high school football this week. And we'll also touch on the stories from last night across southeast Missouri and down in northeast Arkansas with Piggott. And also get into some college football that's got underway over the last few nights, and a big day today in college football getting underway with the opening weekend. So very exciting time this week with some really nice games. College football getting underway and heading into the last month of the Major League Baseball season. The Cardinals are in the hunt for the postseason, which is always good. That's what we come to expect. So everything's good when it comes to the sports scene here in our area. And let's talk about the game that we went and recorded last night, and we'll bring to you on a broadcast delay basis today, which we'll talk about. And the game that we were at last night to record, Malden-Portageville, and Malden got a nice victory last night, 52-8, and they were in control from the beginning there last night, and just controlled the game throughout on all three phases, offensively, defensively, special teams. Really showed up and played well last night. Taking a look at the game last night here. Early on, Portageville having a tough time getting started. A fumble on the reception, and Malden takes control early on. Takes the Mason Brown, quarterback, takes the handoff, fakes it, goes up the middle for the first score for the Green Wave. He had a big night for the Green Wave, especially on the ground. And here we see a nice fake handoff up the middle, and he keeps it. Goes to the pylon for the score for another Green Wave touchdown. And they're up 16-0 early. And here on the third possession for the Bulldogs, reception by Piggott. Thought it was incomplete, but they're charged with the fumble nonetheless. And then here Travis Stevenson gets the handoff, takes it all the way for the touchdown for the third score. And here on another possession by Portageville, punting, it's blocked and recovered and taken inside the 5-yard line, or the 10-yard line for the Green Wave. And then later on here in the game, here in the second quarter, fumble in the backfield by the Bulldogs, picked up. Gavin Newsom takes that in for the touchdown. And then later on in the game here, a nice connection from Mason Brown to Cordell Kilgore down the right sideline, and in for the touchdown here. Cordell Kilgore makes another big play and gets a pick six, interception return for the touchdown. And here to cap off the game right before the buzzer, the running clock, a deep pass from Barham to Brian Pearson to get the Portageville Bulldogs on the board. And that was your final score, 52-6, the Green Wave over the Bulldogs. Impressive victory for Malden last night. They moved to 3-0 with that victory, and looking ahead to another strong season once again. We'll talk more about the Green Wave a little later on in our program. So everything looking good for the Green Wave early on. And take a look at some other games from last night. The Piggott Mohawks getting a road victory against Hazen down in close to Central Arkansas, 20-6. And Hazen, as I know it, a very strong 2A program there in Arkansas. And Piggott getting a nice victory on the road, having upwards to, I think, 3-hour trip last night for that contest, getting that road victory to kick off the season. We're going to talk more about that with Michael Harrell in our next segment, so stick around for that upcoming. Also, sticking down in Arkansas, Palestine Wheatley defeating Rector 43-8. Rector having a tough opener with Palestine Wheatley and taking that one on the chin, but looking forward to Rector putting forth a good team this year. We're actually going to have the Piggott Mohawks and the Rector Cougars here on YHC, maybe for the first time ever. So we'll be looking forward to that later on in the year. And also from last night, back to Missouri, Dexter over New Madrid County Central, 34-14. Dexter getting in the win column with that win on the road in New Madrid last night. Also, Jackson over Sykeston, 42-7. Jackson with a strong effort last night in the air, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. Big effort by the Jackson Indians. Scott City over East Prairie, coming down to the wire, and a touchdown reception late in that game put the Scott City Rams over the East Prairie Eagles in a close one. That probably was the game of the week, as it turned out. And also Poplar Bluff big over St. Charles up in St. Charles, 55-6. The Poplar Bluff Mules rolled to 3-0, looking really good early on with some impressive, decisive victories. Look out for the Mules going forward. Also, St. Vincent over Kelly, big in a shutout, 57-0. Also, we have Fredericktown over Perryville, and that's by a score of 28-13. 28-13, Fredericktown over Perryville. Hayti over Chaffee, big in a shutout, 72-0. The Hayti Indians, a juggernaut, are here early on, getting big victories, getting shutout victories over Thayer. Now Chaffee got I think almost a shot. I don't know if they got a shutout victory over Charleston last week or not, but it was well in hand for the Hayti Indians last week. They look really good here early on here in the Boot Hill. Also, Valley Catholic over Crothersville, probably billed as game of the week heading into this week, as Valley Catholic, Class 1 power, perennial state champion, the Valley Catholic, and defeated Crothersville 48-36. And Crothersville made a fine effort to come back in that game, and we'll talk a little bit about that later, but made a game out of it in the end. A nice game there in Crothersville last night between two very good teams this year. Also, Charleston getting its first victory of the year, and actually in probably close to 3 years, over Central Homeschool out of Arnold, 52-14. And Cape Central getting an overtime victory over Farmington in a close one, 28-27. Cape Central hanging tough with that victory over Farmington. We'll have some district implications there. They both play out of Class 4 District 1. That win could be big come district time for potential home field advantage in that district. And that's your recap from last night's high school football games. And as we mentioned, we've got Malden and Portageville to replay for you today here on YHC at noon, and then Sunday at 4. Saturday at noon, Sunday at 4 between Malden and Portageville. So catch that replay today and Sunday right here on YHC and online at yhctv.com. And we're going to take our first break, and we're going to be back with Michael Harrell. He's the head coach of the Piggott Mohawks. He's going to be along with us to talk about that victory over Hazen last night on the road. We'll be back with that coming up.
Hi, I'm Shane Horner.
Hi, I'm Tim Ellison.
Hi, my name is Richard Clark.
I'm Lori Amos.
I'm Rob Blackwell.
And I'm Ryan Bassetti.
Hi, I'm Alan King.
Hello, I'm Larry Ellison, and we're proud to be part of the Harry Blackwell Ford family here in Malden, Missouri.
Deposit your check here or here or even there. Deposit your check wherever you are with First Midwest Bank's new mobile deposit. Just tap, snap, deposit. It's that simple. New mobile deposit from First Midwest Bank, serving the communities we call home.
The area's fastest internet just got faster. Introducing 100 meg internet, now available from New Wave. With 100 meg, there's nothing you can't do. Browse better, stream more, power every device. This is lightning fast internet designed to fit your family's needs. It's brand new, and it's the fastest game in town. Get 100 meg internet from New Wave, your local provider of the speed you need. Call 1-888-8-NEW-WAVE today.
And we're back now, and along with Piggott football coach Michael Harrell, and he's probably late to bed and early up in the morning after that long road trip to Hazen to take on that Class 2A Power down in Arkansas. And Michael, it's great to have you with us. I know you're probably short on sleep overnight with that long trip, but it's glad to have you this morning.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Good to talk to you, Tyler.
Sure.
Yeah,
And
we got it. It's about 1:30 last night we got in, so it's been a long night, but it was worth the drive.
Sure. And Michael, as I know it or understand it, that Hazen a really good program there around Central Arkansas. They're in 2A, so maybe tell us about their program and what they've got.
Hazen's down there about Little Rock. They've played for 3 state championships in the last 10 years. They've had 30 wins in the last 3 years. I think their worst season they've had since 1996 is a 6-win season. They're a really good football program. I think they was ranked number 6 this year, and in Class 2A. And it's a big win for our boys and a big win for our football program in the direction we're wanting to go. I'm proud of the way everybody played.
Sure. And as I understand it, y'all picked them up for the first time this year and having to start out on the road, a long road trip for the first game of that series. And, that means a lot for your program, being able to add those good teams that compete at the state level, add them to your program, not only be competitive, but go in those games and win, even on the road.
Yeah, that's what, we want to go to that next level and take this program to the next level. And so we're trying to pick up games in our non-conference schedule that's going to make us better and get us more prepared for our conference schedule, So picking up Hazen, going down there 3.5 hours down the road and picking up a big road win is just huge for our confidence level last night. And we played, first game of the year, so we had some false starts. I think we had 3 fumbles we got to get cleaned up. But overall, our defense, when they swarmed, they looked good. And offensively, we just do what we do, and the boys are coming off the ball good.
Sure. Only giving up 6 points last night. That's got to say a lot about the defense and their efforts. So maybe talk about what the defense brought last night.
The defense, I think we held them to 88 yards total offense. Our linebackers, I put our linebackers up and anybody around. John Jones and Brett Fuller and Kate Harrell, they all had, I think, between the 3 of them, I think they had right at 27 solo tackles between those 3 guys. So they played well. Our defensive line come off the ball good. Nate Mallard, Blaine Buchanan, Devin Riley, our defensive ends, Dakota Santos had 7 tackles, 4 for a loss in the backfield. We get up to the quarterback good. Hazen ran a spread offense, and I kind of played into our hands a little bit. We're pretty athletic, and so we've got some guys that can get after the quarterback.
Yeah, looks like anytime you hold an opponent under 100 yards, that's a great effort. That's very rare to hold a good team, especially under 100 yards in a game.
Right.
So that's especially getting that in your first game of the year, that kind of effort and that kind of result, you got to be psyched going forward with your defense.
Yeah, we're really excited. Not just the effort, that's the word we've been really pushing all summer long. It's just a championship effort every snap, and the kids they're giving that. It's just football's not that hard. It's blocking and tackling and just playing hard with championship effort, and that's what you're giving right now.
Yeah, and it shows with the opening result last night. And Michael, it's worth noting the off season that y'all put the effort y'all put in the off season. I know the weight program's a big deal that you've emphasized, and I've kind of kept up with y'all and going out to these weightlifting competitions, and y'all have won a lot of these competitions and been at the top of a lot of these strength competitions. So talk about the effort that's gone on in the off season with these boys and how they're coming along.
Hey, we just finished up our second season, our second off season together as a program, and the kids, man, they're just buying into Coach Sean Hearn. He's my strength and conditioning coach, and he does an excellent job with the DFS program. And yeah, we go up in the southeast Missouri during the winter and do a lot of weight meet competitions, so they don't have it in Arkansas. So we kind of go up there in the Boot Hill and work. We went 3-0 during weight meet competitions this year and finished. We went down to state, down to Fort Smith, Arkansas. We finished third overall in the entire state in Class 3A. I was real proud of the way they competed. And the thing is, we was basically a JV team last year. You know, during off season, we was all freshmen and sophomores. This year's football team only had 3 seniors, and so you know we're all juniors and sophomores right now. And so, as well as strong and as hard as we are getting and playing, our better years are in front of us.
Sure, I was going to get to that. You're a pretty young team this year, only a handful of seniors on the roster, and a very talented, sophomore, junior bunch that are in there in the mix. Which you got to be certainly proud of the effort you got out of your younger kids, and that just means much more success down the road as these kids develop in the next year or two. So everything's looking good for Piggott Mohawk at this point.
Yes, sir. We're excited. We're excited about 2016, but we're even more excited about 2017 and 2018.
Sure. So got to live in the present, though. Opening win, week 1, already out to a good start. You got a home game next week, which we're going to be down for with the Portageville Bulldogs. Y'all have had some battles over the last 2 years coming down to the end, so expect a good game there next week between you and the Portageville Bulldogs. It seems like it's been one of the better games that we cover each year over the last few years, so we'll be looking forward to that one in your home opener.
Yeah, we're going to have a host Coach Bullock and the Bulldogs. Having our football field and our stadium's getting redone. So this will be the first new game on our new football field. We're getting track complex put down there, and so there's a lot of work going on down there. The town's super excited right now about the football program, and they're pouring into it. And we're looking forward to the challenge that Coach Bullock and the Bulldogs will bring. Sure.
We'll be looking forward to it. And Michael, appreciate you spending some time with us this morning, even though you had a short night's sleep, I'm sure. And we'll be looking forward to next week and for the 2016 Piggott Mohawk season. We're excited and we're ready to get down there and cover those games and looking forward to it. Good luck the rest of the way.
All right, Tyler. Thank you. I'll see you Friday.
Okay. See you.
Bye-bye.
And that's Michael Harrell. And I appreciate him tuning in with us this morning. And that's a big win. I've been down in Piggott over the last week, and they're talking about that game last night as, Hazen. How's that? Because I'm not real familiar with Arkansas football, especially when you get down into central Arkansas, as Hazen is. And asking about this Hazen team, was like, yeah, it's a really good team. Open up on the road. One of the best 2A teams or 2A programs in the state. And knew it was going to be a tough one for the Mohawks on the road against a good team, and they handled it. Giving up only around 88 yards, 90 yards of offense, and a stiff defense of the Mohawks, and putting up 20 points on the road, a road opener on the road 3 hours away with a good program. Can't ask for a much better start than that than the Piggott Mohawks have gotten off to after last night. So congratulations to the Piggott Mohawks, and we're looking forward to getting into their schedule next week. As we talked about, Portageville traveling to Piggott, and we'll be on hand for that. Looking forward to that next week. So big start for the Piggott Mohawks. And we're going to let's go ahead and roll into our stories from the area. From last night, as we mentioned, Malden rolls that 3-0 victory last night over Portageville, and they rolled to 3-0 and working on 2 undefeated seasons in a row. And it's worth asking at this point early on, as we've got a little, a little bit to look at. Is another undefeated season in the works for the Green Wave, and it's certainly possible. This is a strong nucleus, a different team than we've seen in years past from the Malden Green Wave. Really tough up front, defensively, offensively. The offensive line, defensive line have really come back. That's their strongest core that they brought back from last year's team. There are some new faces at the skill position. As you see there, Mason Brown, quarterback. He's really athletic. He can, he's got a great fake handoff, as you see there, and he can move with his feet. And throwing the ball, they haven't aired it out much here early on, but there is that potential down the road. But when you move the ball as well as they do with their backs, they're handed off to Trey Stevenson and Jamelin Krigler and a couple other weapons they're utilizing. I believe Bryce Nelson there in the mix as well. They've got some weapons that they've they've stepped up this year, moved up into the varsity ranks, and they're going to be a force, as we've seen early on. You got a big win over Crothersville last week, which will make a big deal come district time and home field advantage, which will likely be that Class 2 District 1 final once again this year. And we're going with this team. You're not going to see maybe as big a dynamic plays as much as we saw them last night, but it's probably going to be a more methodical, just march the ball up the field with the strength up front and their offensive line, and you're going to really see some good defense on the other side, especially up front. Teams are really having a hard time moving the ball against that defensive line of the Green Wave. So, it's worth talking about. We're just discussing another undefeated season in the works. It could be. I mean, just looking here early on, you're going to have some probably some tough games upcoming with Hayti and Kennett. That stakes out on their schedule. Hayti and Kennett here early on. That'll certainly be able to match up with the Green Wave, but that line is tough to deal with, and that's anybody knows football. You win in the trenches, offensive and defensive lines, and the Malden Green Wave have both. And you don't have to be exceptional at the skill position if you've got the offensive and defensive lines. But here early on, these skill guys, Trey Stevenson, Mason Brown, Jamelin Krigler, they're looking good. Cordell Kilgore, he's looked good offensively and defensively. Receiver and defensive back. And so you got some skilled guys too that are kind of making their own way into the scene here on the varsity level this year. That's the thing. Each year, Malden's turning over so much talent in the skill positions. It seems like another guy just steps up in that running back or wide receiver role, and they excel, and they certainly will with the strength that they've got up front on offensive and defensive lines, and especially in a small town, or not small town, but smaller school. Football here in the Boot Hill especially, if you have a line, that's going to be tough to beat. And here early on, that's what the Green Wave have. Toughness up front on both sides of the ball, and they're going to be a tough team to beat. So, right now, if I was doing a toss-up, I'd say go ahead and write down that undefeated regular season again. I just think that they've got the advantage when it comes to the toughness up front, being able to move the ball up and down the field. And but Hayti and Kennett, those are the games to look forward to on the Malden schedule for the remainder of the year. So especially Hayti. Hayti's really looking good early on, and Kennett looking really competitive early on as well. Kennett's one of those teams that's really gotten stronger up front that may be able to, counter that strength of the Malden Green Wave up front. And they got some skilled players too out there on the outside, and Maddox is looking really good at quarterback early on. So we'll see. There's going to be some big matchups down the road for the Green Wave to look forward to. We're going to see a few closer games than we have the last couple of years. The Green Wave over the last 2 years have just breezed through their regular season schedule. This year we might see some closer games. Saw one last week with Crothersville, pretty close. It was close last year too. They only a 1-point game in the regular season last year. So we might see some tighter games, but look out for the Green Wave to contend for another undefeated season. And take a look at some other stories from last night. Crothersville rallied last night from Valley Catholic and fell just short of coming back in that game against Valley Catholic. Game of the week going into this one. Crothersville looking really strong this year. Valley Catholic, a perennial state champion in Class 1, coming down to the Boot Hill to take on Crothersville. And some big numbers put up last night on both sides, Valley and Crothersville. Big offensive numbers. Both teams had over 400 yards of offense. Cody Stahl, 20 rushes for 123 yards. Mason Skaggs passing 11 of 20 with 2 touchdowns and over 200 yards passing. And receiving, Cole Wood, 175 yards receiving for Valley. And Crothersville had some big performers as well. Rushing, DeAndre Davis, 17 rushes for 110 yards. And receiving, George Qualls had a big night. 16 receptions for 246 yards. Qualls has had a big season so far. He's a big-time defender as well. Defensive back for the Crothersville Tigers. So big effort on both sides last night. I think Crothersville fell down like 28-0 in the first half. Fought their way back, made a game of it. Final score, I believe, was 36-24 believe was the final score in that one. So they made a game of it in the end, which they can. They got big play potential. Looks like they turned it on in the second half. Just come up quite short. No shame in that. Valley Catholic, they can play. They blow out Class 3 and Class 4 schools up there. So, they're one of the best teams in the state, regardless of class, there in Valley and St. Genevieve. So, look out for Crothersville going forward, too. Really tough here early on. Also, Dexter gets its first win over New Madrid last night. A battle of the winless teams there last night. Dexter gets the road win over New Madrid in decisive fashion, really running the ball well last night as Dexter's changed up their formations, especially offensively with new coach Kevin Goltra, and got a really run-heavy formation, or run-heavy offense, and 3 backs last night that pretty much divided all that up around 70 to 90 yards. Hunter Lawrence, Peyton Tennant, and Trevor McDonald, big nights for them as they all ran the ball well. They were consistent, and nobody really excelled over the other. They all had anywhere from 70 to 90 yards. I believe they had around 400 yards of offense, and New Madrid just couldn't get anything going offensively hardly. And a struggling program there with New Madrid. That's tough to see, but that's just the way it is early on. Dexter getting his first win on the road, and they take on Middle College Prep out of Tennessee next week. So Dexter is in the win column. Put a winning streak together starting next week as they host Middle College Prep out of Memphis, Tennessee at Charles Bland Stadium in Dexter. So probably just the momentum they need here early on in the season. And take a look at some other games. Charleston snaps his 23-game losing streak, and they were on the road last night up in Arnold taking on Central Homeschool. Homeschool team up there. I guess that's an association of some homeschool kids putting together a team. Charleston getting that win by any means necessary. They got it last night on the road. That's tough. A 23-game losing streak spanning over 2.5 seasons. That's tough. But they got it last night, snapped it, start anew after snapping that losing streak. That's good for the Blue Jays to get in the win column for this season. And Cape Central getting an overtime victory over Farmington, having to come back in the fourth quarter for that one last night. Impressive finish for the Cape Central Tigers. They've had some tough ones early on, tough schedule early on for Cape Central. Got a nice victory over Farmington. That's a Class 4 District 1 game. We'll have district implications later on. Home field advantage especially goes into account there. So Cape Central looking good in that district so far. Getting a nice victory over Farmington last night. And, those are pretty much the storylines from last night. Impressive games across the board. We didn't get to Haytai's game. They had a big night. Haytai had 500-plus yards in that game. Allen Mills had a big night passing. 309 yards passing for Allen Mills last night. And Haytai looking really good. They're blowing teams out early on. And that's one team to look out for this year. They've kind of hit one of their lulls in the last few years. Expect a very good team out of Haytai every year, it seems like. But the last few years, they've struggled a bit. Didn't have necessarily the depth across, both offensive and defense. They had a handful of players, but didn't have the depth, especially up front on the line. But looks like they got it this year. Rolling over teams early on. Got a shutout victory over Thayer. Shutout victory last night over Chaffee. Looking good for the Haytai Indians so far this year. And we're going to take another break. We're going to take another break and be back with some state rankings for Missouri. We've seen some shuffle on that this week, and we'll be back with that coming up.
You just can't do it anymore, but you want to stay in your own home. Bales is the place to call. Bales is committed to helping people like you to maintain your independence and live your life on your terms with dignity. Bales can help with your family getting paid for taking care of you. There is no need to live anywhere but our own home with Boot Heel Area Independent Living Services there to help. Just call 888-449-0949 or stop by 719 Tico Road in Kennett to find out more. Bales, Boot Heel Area Independent Living Services, serving Dunklin, New Madrid, Pemiscot, and Stoddard counties.
What is your emergency? Need assistance at County Road 61 and Highway 9. Help is on its way.
Clear! There's a better way to jumpstart your soil back to health. Apply Endzone to protect and increase nitrogen efficiency without killing bacteria. Apply Prevent to increase phosphorus availability and reduce fixation. Better yet, use them both to get more from your fertilizer investment and see higher potential yields. Ag Explorer, your prescription for healthy soil.
The competitive edge. It's the edge that sets you apart from your competition. Every business needs it. Now, every business can get it. Partner with Advanced Business Solutions and give your business the competitive edge. Advanced Business Solutions, delivered by New Wave, offers scalable fiber optic-based internet solutions to fit your needs. Now you can download without the wait on a network designed for you. Call Advanced Business Solutions and get the competitive edge for as low as $39.99 per month.
And welcome back for your state rankings for this week. Coming into this week, the football state rankings for week 3. Valley Catholic, number 1 coming into this week. They moved to 3-0 with that victory over Crothersville last night. And no surprise there with Valley Catholic still on top at number 1. Number 2, Marceline. 3, Hamilton Penny. 4, Lincoln. 5, Lockwood. 6, Polo. 7, Cass Midway. 8, the Hayti Indians. Hayti Indians cracking that top 10 with some big early victories here. No surprise they're in that top 10. We mentioned over the last week or two that they would likely get into that top 10 with the decisive victories that they've had here early on. Mark Twain at number 9. And also rounding out the top 10 is Western. And those are your Class 1 rankings for this week. And taking a look at Class 2. Lamar, no surprise. I think they're 5-6-time defending state champions coming into this year at number 1. 2, Mountain View Liberty. That's pretty much expected as well. Those are 1 and 2, but Mountain View just always runs into Lamar each year. Tough road for them. 3, Centralia. 4, Mountain Grove. 5, Lutheran North. 6, Brookfield, and 7, the Malden Green Wave, cracking into the top 7 now. They've moved up 1 spot each week. They started out at number 9 and coming into the preseason poll, then last week to 8, now to 7. So slowly moving up to that poll, and probably see them move up some more as the season goes on, as they look to have another good year. So we're looking forward to Malden moving up those rankings this year. And moving on, Trinity at number 8, 9, Fairgrove, and 10, Cardinal Ritter. And moving on to Class 3, Maryville on top of number 1, 2, Blair Oaks, 3, John Burroughs. John Burroughs was the number 1 ranked team, took a loss, moved down to number 3. 4, Manette, 5, Center, 6, McClure South of Berkeley, 7, Mexico, 8, Park Hill Central, 9, Richmond, and 10, Chillicothe. And moving up to Class 4, Kearney at number 1, the defending state champions, who have moved up, I think, from number 2 to number 1. Webb City, which we'll talk about in a moment, it's dropped down big time with 2 early losses. 2, Carl Junction, 3, Harrisonville, 4, Parkway North, 5, Platte County, 6, St. Dominic, 7, Camden, 8, Hannibal, 9, Westminster Academy, and 10, the Webb City Cardinals. Believe it or not, they come into this season number 1 ranked team in the state, and they had a run, too, around 5-6 titles in a row. They lost the state championship to Kearney last year in a nail-biter, and they opened up this year as the number 1 ranked team and took a loss to Carl Junction. That's a big rivalry between those two, 23-7 in week 1, and lost last week 34-21 to Carthage. So 2 early losses for Webb City, taking them all the way down to number 10. That's just unthought of. If there's a 1 in their ranking, it's certainly number 1, not number 10, and that's the case so far. It's really tough teams early on. Carl Junction, I believe they're a state-ranked Class 5 team. I believe. Actually, I think I'm wrong on that one. So, Class 2 team. Yeah, it's number 2 in Class 4, taking a loss to them the first week. So, we hardly ever see Webb City lose a game, but lose their first 2 games and being potentially out of the state rankings here early on, it's just unfathomable, but that is the case. Webb City taking a few losses early on, and number 10 in this week's poll. And Class 5, Chaminade at number 1, 2 Staley, 3 Battle, 4 Liberty North, 5 Nixa, 6 Liberty, 7 Fort Zumwalt North, 8 Vianney, 9 Glendale, and 10 Pattonville. And those are your Class 5 state rankings for this week. So those are the rankings, and seeing some of the Southeast Missouri teams move into that poll. Malden's moving up. Haytime moved in Class 1. And Park Hill Central up the ways there. They're in Class 3. So seeing some teams move in there, as we should. I knew Haytime would be moving in there, as they've had a great year so far. Malden's going to continue to move up. I think they'll be in that top 5 by year's end. And Park Hill Central right there. They're always right there in the mix. They're in the top 10. Might be able to see Jackson in that Class 5 if they can continue to put a season together as they have here early on. You see them in that top 10 poll as the season goes on. So expect to see more of those teams here in the Southeast Missouri area in those polls going forward. And we're going to take another break and talk a little bit about some area volleyball, softball, baseball, and give you a little look at college football for the weekend and other sports news coming up.
Welcome to NFL Total Access,
the show that takes you inside the locker room and down on the field. With inside access to all 32 teams all year long. NFL Total Access, Monday through Saturday, only on NFL Network.
NFL Network, where football season never ends.
NFL Red Zone, the channel that brings you every touchdown from every game on Sunday afternoons. Watch the most exciting moments like never before, live in HD. Every touchdown from every game, live on one channel, NFL Red Zone.
And welcome back. And before we get away from football, we want to give you an update on our broadcast schedule coming up. And as we mentioned, Malden versus Portageville will replay Saturday at noon, Sunday at 4 here on YHC and YHCTV.com. And we'll have that for you this weekend and have it uploaded online and have that on YHCTV.com to view as well and on our social media. And SemoSportZone.com is a work in progress right now. We've overhauled the site to add a few new features and different looks, so we're coming along with that. Hopefully we'll have that in the next week or two up at SemoSportZone.com. Next week, couple games to look forward to. We got Portageville at Piggott for Piggott's home opener, and we'll have that for a broadcast delay. That'll be the following Sunday at 7 and Tuesday at 6:30. And then we'll have Middle College Prep taking on Dexter live from Charles Bland Stadium in Dexter. That'll be a 7 o'clock start live Friday night, and that'll replay Saturday at noon and Sunday at 4 for next weekend. So those are the games we got for next week: Portageville and Piggott, Middle College Prep, and Dexter. Look forward to those games next Friday night right here on YHC. And give you a little brief take on the other sports in the area. We got girls tennis, girls high school softball, boys fall baseball, girls volleyball getting underway here in the last couple of weeks. And early standouts are Advance. The Advance Hornets volleyball team looking really good early on. I think they won the Woodland Invitational Tournament last week, and have really rolled through their schedule early on. And that's Erin Hoffman. They're at Advance. It seems like anywhere she goes, they excel. And she's with the Advance Hornets volleyball program, and they've really excelled here early on with some victories team to really look out for the remainder of the season. Dexter's got a tough team as well. They've had some nice early wins. Malden, undefeated team so far, got a win over Kennett earlier this week, so Malden's looking really good. And girls tennis, the Kennett tennis team looking really good. They got a victory over Dexter earlier this week, as Kennett always excels in the girls tennis program. Dexter's done well as well. There's usually a good matchup between Dexter and Kennett each year. And Kennett got that, I think it was 7 matches to 2, I believe it was, earlier in the week. So a nice victory for Kennett earlier this week. High school baseball, Bernie and Cooter faced off earlier this week. I think Cooter beat Bernie. I think I remember that correctly. Bernie's had a great baseball program as well as Cooter the last few years. And Bloomfield looking pretty good early on as well. So we'll kind of keep you up to date on what's happening in the fall baseball and other sports scene throughout this fall. So it's going to be exciting. The softball, fall softballs, the more competitive season is in the fall, the more teams that play statewide, the most competitive teams for sure. So we'll be keeping up with that as the season goes on as well here in Southeast Missouri. So be sure to tune in for that each week right here on the Sports Roundtable. And college football gets underway this week. It's already gotten underway for a few days now. I think this is the biggest opening week ever in college football. And Thursday night, it got underway. 19th ranked Louisville defeated Charlotte 70-14. Big win for Louisville at home. And then a close one, Tennessee over Appalachian State 20-13. The 9th ranked Tennessee Volunteers barely over Appalachian State, and Appalachian State's always known for their upsets. You remember that big upset over Michigan years ago. I think it was in week 1. So Appalachian State, and I think they play out of the subdivision, the championship subdivision, and they're always right there in the mix. I think they've won a couple national titles here of late, so they're no slouch, especially early on when these teams don't have a preseason to come into week 1. That's a team you probably don't want to face is Appalachian State in week 1. But Tennessee pulled out that overtime victory 20-13. Other games, 12th ranked Michigan State over Furman 28-13. A lot of these are blowouts, cream puff games here. 23rd ranked Baylor over Northwestern State 55-7. These are last night's games. 8th ranked Stanford over Kansas State. Pretty competitive game there, 26-13. Stanford over Kansas State. And games to look forward to today. Some notable games. 3rd ranked Oklahoma at 15th ranked Houston. Nice little matchup there on ABC at 11 o'clock today. Let's see. We've got 16th ranked UCLA at Texas A&M at 2:30 later on today. 5th ranked LSU at Wisconsin. 18th ranked Georgia at 22nd ranked North Carolina. 20th ranked USC at top ranked, well, not at top ranked, they're playing in Dallas at Cowboys Stadium, AT&T Stadium where the Cowboys play, Jerry World, whatever you call it. 20th ranked USC taking on top ranked Alabama tonight. Primetime game, 7 o'clock on ABC, game of the week. Can't miss that one. Second ranked Clemson at Auburn, 8 o'clock tonight on ESPN. And then tomorrow, we got some Sunday games. 10th ranked Notre Dame at Texas on ABC at 6:30 tomorrow night. And then 11th ranked Ole Miss at 4th ranked Florida State tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Sunday night at 7 o'clock on ESPN. Big games kicking off the year. There's some cream puffs in there, but some big time games. Big time games there tomorrow night. Ole Miss, Florida State, USC, Alabama, Georgia, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Houston. Big games. Good weekend to kick off. For high school football, the pros get underway next week. Thursday night game kicks off the traditional Super Bowl champion. Defending Super Bowl champion hosts the first game on Thursday night on NBC, and it's going to be a rematch of the Super Bowl 50 from last February. The Denver Broncos will host the Carolina Panthers, and it'll look a lot different this year, especially on the Denver Broncos side. You won't see Peyton Manning. You won't see Brock Osweiler. You'll see Trevor Siemian, a 7th-round pick just 2 years ago. He's only taken one snap, and it was a kneel down in the NFL, leading up the defending world champion Denver Broncos. It's never been done. That's one thing that was released this week, that no quarterback has ever taking over a defending world champion team in the NFL without taking, or at least having a pass attempt. I think that's what it was. He's only taken one snap in the NFL in the regular season, and it was a kneel down. And that was the exception. You know, he's the only quarterback to ever take over as quarterback of a defending Super Bowl championship team and not had a pass attempt in the NFL. Unbelievable. This kid looks like he's pretty poised, and that's what they need. They got a great defense. They'll probably return the best defense in the league once again this year. A few subtractions from that defense. I believe Danny Trevathan is the right outside linebacker, and Malik Jackson, a defensive end. They left in free agency, but pretty much returned the core nucleus of that team on defense. So they just need a guy to basically do what they did last year. Just move the ball up, kick some field goals, get some turnovers, turn those into a touchdown here and there, and win the game by 6 points, 3 points, whatever. It doesn't take a whole lot for that team to win. So Trevor Siemian, this is kind of a redo of Tom Brady. I'm not saying we're not predicting that, but Tom Brady, a 6th-round pick, takes over for an injured quarterback. This one's starting the season, a little different storyline there, but still 7th-round pick. It's unbelievable. A 7th-round pick of Northwestern, and actually missed his whole senior year due to an injury. So he didn't play his whole senior year at Northwestern. He was drafted in the 7th round, just basically to, maybe be a 3rd-string quarterback, or just maybe come out and try out and maybe go to the practice team. That was what was expected of him. Now he's the starting quarterback for the defending world champion Denver Broncos. Unbelievable story, but a great opportunity for him to cash in here. He beat out Mark Sanchez. They required him in free agency to more than likely take over the reins for this team, as Peyton Manning retired. Brock Osweiler signed with the Texans in free agency. Left a big hole there at quarterback to fill. They had Trevor Siemian under contract, their 3rd-string quarterback, and didn't have anybody else. So they went and got Mark Sanchez, drafted Paxton Lynch, moved up into the latter half of the 1st round to get him. He looks really good, strong arm, but he's going to be a backup here early on. He's got to learn the ropes, especially coming to the NFL. So different look Broncos, but it'll be interesting to see how that Super Bowl rematch turns out Thursday night on NBC coming up this week. So exciting time. High school football's well in motion now. We finally got Arkansas underway, and college football's kicking off this week over the last few nights into the big day today, and the NFL gets underway next week. It's one of the best 2-week periods, when everything gets rolling for the fall. We got fall functions coming up in the communities, so it's a exciting time with everything going on. A lot of happenings. That's great. That's what's great about the fall season. A whole lot going on with schools, communities, and it's just a great time to live in small town America here where we're at, Northeast Arkansas and Southeast Missouri. So got to live it up. All right, well, that'll pretty much bring it into our program today, and we appreciate you for tuning in as always. Look forward to seeing you right back here with us next Saturday, live at 10 a.m. for the Sports Roundtable. And until then, I'm Tyler Wagner. Have yourself a great week. Take care, everyone.